Hey, beloved, welcome to another chapter of the book of Sean. It's good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm excited about tonight's show, and I'll tell you why. My dear sister Tasha is here, and she knows what it is. See, we live in a world where everybody wants to criticize everybody. You know what I'm saying? You could be drop dead gorgeous, handsome, tall, dark, handsome. And people will still find something to criticize you for, because criticism is the currency of the culture. It's horrible. And my sister Tasha's had to deal with that on a multiplicity of levels, and it's affected her, because you can only criticize somebody for so long and they be able to not be affected by it. You know what I'm saying? I want to understand what it's done to her, and I want to understand what is the nature, the genealogy, the source of all this, because if I got it right, and my producers always get it right, this is affecting her life. Criticism. I bet you on some level it's affecting your life too. On some level, your life is being affected by criticism in some kind of way. And me and Tasha and you, we're going to figure this out tonight. We're going to get this thing right so that we can go forward and not let people who shouldn't get a vote have a say. I'm cooking with hot grease, people. We're going to do some Ask Dr. Sean later on. Let's start with some headlines. Play the bumper, Hailey. So, listen, you guys, I don't do a whole lot of celebrity news. It's not really my thing, but I got a little celebrity news, okay? I saw this interesting story about Justin Bieber that I just could not ignore. And so Justin Bieber recently did an interview with People magazine, and Justin talked about he has a newfound realization and understanding of marriage. And this is very interesting. When I heard it, I thought, this was worth the trouble of talking about it on the Book of Sean. Here's what he said. Justin said that marriage was a journey, and that he thought that marriage was going to fix all of his problems, and he realized that it wouldn't, and it shouldn't, and it can't. And that marriage has taught him that he might not be the person he thought he was. And I found this to be one of the most important observations that I've heard in a long time. Shout out to Justin Bieber for being, self-aware, right? Because this is an important observation, because a lot of people think that the only thing wrong with their lives is that they haven't found anybody. A lot of people think, that if I just find somebody, my life will be perfect and we're going to be happily ever after. Only to discover the way Justin discovered that ain't how it works. You understand what I'm saying? You can find somebody who is perfectly suited for you, but it won't fix you, because you can't hide from yourself in the arms of other people. That's good, Dr. Sean. Yes, it is. And that's what Justin found out, that you can't hide from yourself in the beauty of somebody else. They can be 100 times more beautiful and all that, and you can love them to death, but the truth, what your truth is going to show up eventually. Who you are is going to manifest itself in your relationship eventually, because relationships are mirrors. If you want to know who you are, try to be in a monogamous, long-term relationship, and you will discover things about yourself that you didn't even know was there, because relationships are mirrors. People don't come into your life to make you better. I know what you heard on TV, but they lied. People don't come into your life to make you better, and you ain't in somebody's life to make them better. What people come into your life to do is to reveal more of who you are to you. And once that revelation is made known, then it's up to you to do the work. Because nobody can make you better. They can inspire you to want to be better for yourself, but they can't make you better. And that's what Justin Bieber found out. That you can be married to someone that you absolutely love and is gorgeous and y'all just doing everything you did big enough, grown enough to do. And then you realize, you know what, I still got some stuff about me that ain't right. Yeah, man. And I'm sure if you found somebody, those of us who are single, because I'm single, those of us who are single, if you found somebody, I'm sure there are parts of your life that would be better. And I'm sure there are parts of your life that would not necessarily be better. Here's what I know for sure. I know for sure that when people come into your life, they come into your life to love you. And they come into your life rather to inspire you. So take the love and the inspiration and do your work. Because when it's all said and done, it's not their job to make you better. It's yours. I wish you well, Justin. You guys, I wish you longevity and a great marriage and all of that. And I wish all of you the truth about relationships. Let's talk about Young Thug. I don't do celebrity stuff, but here I am, Tasha, doing celebrity stuff. When you come on, Tasha, I go right to the celebrity stuff. It must be because you're a star, right? Because you're a star and you're inspiring me to talk about stars. But we all saw the story about Young Thug, and so I felt like, wow, I should probably talk about this. And that's Young Thug. Young Thug was one of 28 people indicted on conspiracy charges to violate the racketeering laws of the state of Georgia. Young Thug, let me get his name right, is allegedly one of the 3 founders of the Young Slim Life, which is allegedly, I say allegedly, a criminal street gang started in 2012 in Atlanta. His lawyer released a statement, and I think it's important to read, saying that the rapper committed no crime whatsoever, and that his lawyer is committed to fight for Young Thug until his last drop of blood. That's what he says. Now, of course, I don't know if these charges are true. I don't know what the validity of them happens to be. I wasn't there. That's why I'm saying allegedly. I have no insight into this at all. But I thought this story was very interesting, and I'll tell you why. In fact, let me just say this. I wish Young Thug well. I wish that he is, vindicated if that's what he should be. I also wish justice to be done. You follow what I'm saying? I'm just covering all the bases right now. But I thought this was interesting, and I'll tell you why. Because the lesson of this story is no matter who you are, at a certain point in your life, the things that you did to survive cannot be the things that you do to keep you successful. Surviving and success are not the same thing. And at some point in all of our lives, and again, I don't know if these charges are true or not. It doesn't matter. The lesson here is this. We all have to transform. We all have to grow. We all have to be better. And whatever you were doing to sort of get to a place where you could be stable and have the life that you want, I understand we all got to do certain things. Get it? I've had to do certain things too. Don't act like you were. Tasha, have you ever had to do certain? We've all had to do certain things. You know what I'm saying? Tasha's with me. Tasha's with me. We've all had to do certain things to survive. We all have. I'm not talking about nothing seedy or nasty. But we've all had to, smile at some things that, laugh at some jokes that wasn't funny. We've all had to do it. You know what I'm saying? But at a certain point, the things that help you to survive are not the things that are going to keep you successful. And you have to be willing to grow. Because I say this to you guys all the time, and I believe it in my soul. You cannot be who you used to be and who you're trying to be at the same time. One of these 2 things has to go. And I don't know if these charges are true or not, but it gives me the opportunity to tell you that if you are still doing behavior, thinking thoughts, having conversations, hanging out with people that were only good for where you came from, but they're not good for where you're going, you need to make a decision right now. Yet, let what happened to Young Thug yesterday be your catalyst, your opportunity to have a real conversation with yourself. And I'm going to say it again. If you are doing anything that's diametrically opposed to where you say you're trying to go, you need to adjust that behavior right away. You have a moral obligation to yourself to make sure that you are not undermining your own greatness. See, it's one thing for somebody else to get in the way. It's one thing for white supremacy to get in the way. It's one thing for somebody who don't like me, but it's another thing when I get in my own way. Because then I'm not a victim. I'm a volunteer. I don't know about any of these charges being true or not, but listen, I know that we all make mistakes. And I never have a problem with somebody who makes a mistake. My only problem with people, you make all the mistakes you need to make. My only problem is when we don't grow. When someone doesn't grow, that's when I have the problem. Not the mistake. I can live with the mistake. I just need you to grow. And I'm hoping Young Thug grows. I'm hoping that he ends up well. Who was the other guy with him? There was another guy. Gunna. Yeah, Gunna. Yeah, he caught up in it too. I hope both of them, I wish them well. I also wish that justice happens. And I wish that they are treated with the respect of the law. And I wish, more importantly, and pray that they grow. You know what I'm saying? All right, Tasha, this is not a celebrity story. Okay? This is the first non-celebrity story that I'm doing for the day. And this story is going to make you mad, okay? Just prepare yourselves. Prepare your hearts and minds, because this story is going to make you mad. You're going to be upset by the time I'm done. You ready? Let's go. So Patrick Rausch is a white teacher in Rochester, New York, who was under fire for allegedly telling his class, that guy right there, mostly black 7th graders, to pick seeds out of cotton. And allegedly he put shackles on the students during their social studies lesson about slavery. Yes, that guy right there, Patrick Rausch. There's more. One of his students alleges that he gave the whole class cotton, and the students would need to pick the seeds out of the cotton, and the teacher said that they better get it right, and he called them boys. And one report that I read, he made them call him massa. Yeah, I told you it's going to get you upset. Okay? So just for the record, for everybody watching tonight, if you've ever wondered why critical race theory exists, this is why. This is why something like critical race theory exists. Now, of course, it's not taught in high schools, and it's not taught in grammar schools, and it's not taught in elementary schools. It's only taught in law schools. But if you ever wanted to know why it exists, this is why it exists, people. Okay? So you tell me, just stay with me. You tell me that it's too much for a kid in Florida to read Toni Morrison because it's too traumatic for him, a little white kid, to read about slavery. But it's not too traumatic for a teacher in Rochester, New York, to call kids boys and make them pick seeds out of cotton and make them call him massa? Which one is more traumatic? A European kid, a white kid, an Asian kid, a Latinx kid reading the truth about American history? Or some nut teaching in Rochester demeaning black kids to their faces? Which one is more traumatic? But here's this part of the story that's really going to make you mad, Tasha, because I see your face. You with me. Listen to this, Tasha. This part is going to blow your mind. The teacher who did this is on paid leave. Allegedly did this. I got to say allegedly because they'll be texting me. You didn't say so. The teacher who allegedly did this is on paid leave. Okay. So a classroom full of kids said that this is what he did, and apparently they need to investigate this. I mean, a whole classroom full of black kids said that this is what he did. I'm pretty sure that's what he did. Okay? But why is he on paid leave? This is what I don't understand. Why are taxpayers still paying him? I suppose there's some law, there's some union thing that makes it the case that you can't fire teachers arbitrarily. But let me ask you a question. If this teacher had abused one of those students or hit one of those students, you think he'd be on paid leave? So you tell me how degrading and demeaning black students is any less traumatic than abuse or hitting. Let me help you, it's not. And yet he's on paid leave. Because, of course, if you abuse a kid or hit a kid, you should be fired. Absolutely. But if you demean black kids, we got to investigate and put you on paid leave. Let's move on. Oh, America. Such an interesting place. Here's my last one, Tasha, before I bring you out. Let's talk about Elon Musk, okay? Elon Musk. All of you saw yesterday Elon Musk said that he would reverse Twitter's ban on former President Donald Trump. Let me just say that I told you so. I told you this is exactly what he was going to do, and this is exactly what he's doing. And I told you that him buying Twitter was going to end up with a mess, and that is exactly what we're about to have. Now we're about to have the orange liar tweeting away. Okay? Now, since Elon Musk is apparently incapable or not smart enough to keep a liar and a bigot off of Twitter, it means that the rest of us now have to be smart enough to ignore everything he says when he returns. You know, this is a moment because since we can't count on billionaires to protect what's best and what is in the best interest of the country, it now becomes the media's responsibility not to report every single tweet Donald Trump makes. You follow what I'm saying? I don't want to hear on CNN or MSNBC or NPR or wherever you get your news from. Well, we know Fox they're going to have it on there. But I don't want to hear everywhere else every tweet that comes out of his head. Okay? Now we get to see what the media is really all about. And it's going to be hard for the media because the media loves Donald Trump. Donald Trump is great for ratings. But now we're going to see how ethical all of these major news companies are. Okay? We're going to see if they're really going to do the hard work of deciding that they're not going to give Donald Trump free media, or if they're going to instead give him the lack of attention he so richly deserves. Trump is a troll, man. And bringing Trump back to Twitter is a disservice to American democracy. And I'll tell you why. Because the last time he was on Twitter, he almost destroyed American democracy. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to my dear sister Tasha about criticism, rejection, people always having something to say, right? Critics are everywhere. And she knows that journey. You know it too, and I know it as well. And we're going to see if we can figure out how we can negotiate, navigate our way through the sharks, because you can't avoid the sharks. The moment you go out into the water, you're going to have to deal with the sharks. But here's what I know for sure, that you can swim faster than they can, especially if you're in a boat. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. I promised you before we took the break that we're going to have a real conversation about criticism and negativity and what it can do to you, okay? Because we live in a culture of darkness where people just lavish themselves in the shadows, always snipping and biting at people's heels. You know, greatness invites critics. I know that. And if people are criticizing you, it's probably because you're doing something right. My guest tonight knows that journey, and I want to make sure that she knows that her critics might be complimenting her more than she thinks they are. Let's see what happens. Welcome to the show tonight, Tasha. Hey, Tasha.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing exceedingly well. Thank you for being on tonight. I am so glad to have you.
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
Good. So let's get into it, okay? Because I was thinking about this conversation most of the day, and I knew what the first question I wanted to ask you was. And I'm asking this first question for a reason, okay? Because I like stories. I like stories. So take me into the story. When was the moment when you realized, and I'm not being pejorative, but I'm using this word intentionally, that you were a little obsessed with what people thought about you? When was the moment?
Definitely in college. That's Yeah, all of college. I was only there for 2 years, but for those entire 2 years, especially once I left, I'm like, yeah, you care way too much about what other people have to say about you. And then once I started doing some media and different branding opportunities, and the videos would be posted on YouTube, I found myself spending way too much time in the comment section and just trying to fix myself up so that I can fit for what other people wanted from me. And it drove me pretty much insane. But it definitely started, I realized it in college.
So am I to surmise from that there wasn't a moment? There was, because listen, I can tell you of a moment when I realized some things about myself. So I'm surmising that there wasn't a particular moment, but a succession of moments. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely multiple different moments. We would be here all day if I went through all of them.
Well, it's interesting because I'm imagining that you're in college, and college is a time for anybody, right? A time to discover yourself, learn who you are, build up your confidence. When you're a freshman, you're starting over, right? You were the main thing in high school, and now you're starting at the bottom of the totem pole again. So having said that, you're in college. People are saying things. What are they saying about you?
Wow. Well, I was on the track team, so naturally, teammates, we talk about each other. It's just what it is. So I think a lot of the competitiveness on the track kind of spilled over into regular life. And then I was throwing parties on campus, and people didn't understand why a freshman or how a freshman was getting people to come out. So it was just a lot of hate, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And as I'm growing my brand, I still don't really know how to deal with it now. I feel like it's getting worse for me, actually.
So okay. So let's do some heavy lifting. I like how you are giving me some understanding of it. Let's do a little heavy lifting, because here's my question. How did you grow? Are we good? Are we good? Okay. How did you grow up? Did you grow up in an environment where you had to deal with appearances and criticism and critiques of your family?
Yes, family. And when I was taking piano and voice lessons, perfection is really pushed onto you. And I was taking voice and piano lessons so young, so early. I was thinking okay, this has to be perfect, that has to be perfect, on top of, some of my family members in my immediate family were just always emphasizing how we always have to look nice and we have to present ourselves a certain way. And I understand that to an extent, but being so young and that demand, it was just too much. And it's definitely played a huge part in my life now.
Okay, so would you say, and again, please don't be specific with who, but would you say that even in your own family, you felt criticized?
Oh, yes. Definitely. I feel like everyone feels criticized by their family, but you know, it's harder to hear because it is from people that love you and that you're with all the time. But it still sucks, and I wish it couldn't have gotten to the point that it has with some of my family members.
So let me ask you this, because that I think you're right. We all have to deal with it. We all have to struggle with it. That's just a part of the journey. But we all handle it differently. Go back to when you're 15, 14, 16 years old, right? Or maybe even younger. And tell me what the demand for the right appearance and the criticisms, what did that do to you then?
Then I definitely think, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but it
Nope.
definitely felt like I had to deal with my self-esteem. It was
There you
bad.
go.
Just trying to uphold an appearance, it's just tiring. And I felt like I had to do everything that everyone else was saying, and I couldn't really do what I wanted to do because I had to uphold this image, and it was frustrating.
Yeah. So let me help you a little bit, because when you said that you didn't know, you do know, right? So
Right?
so so I'm gonna say some things, and if I got it right, you say that's right, Dr. Sean. Okay, all right. You ready? You were frustrated.
That's right.
You were resentful.
Yes,
You were insecure.
definitely.
You were exhausted. Okay, here's the last one, and this one elaborate on if I got it right. All of that concern for appearance and critique and criticism, um, did it not make you question your value?
It definitely made me question my value.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a girl. I was never a girl. I'm not a woman. What's it like for a little girl who is, whatever, 13, 14, to question her value? What is that? What's that like?
It sucks. It's like, I don't know, you're just confused. You don't really know what to ask or who to ask, and you can really get lost. You can get introduced to a lot of things that you don't need to be introduced to. I'm glad I'm not growing up in the era of social media that it is now, because I know I would have been off the chain because you just have too much access now. But I was a little sheltered, so I didn't have access to many things. But when I got to college, that's when it all manifested, and I just wilded out a little bit, a lot.
Yeah. Well, listen, and that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you how. So moving forward in your life, how did it manifest? How did the insecurity manifest itself when you were in your college years? And more importantly, how's it manifesting itself now?
In my college years, I would definitely just hide behind it. I had sports and I had a heavy school schedule, so I just, kept myself busy. I would throw parties and they would just get bigger and bigger, and it was just never enough. So because I had that drive, I was always able to just focus in on something instead of, paying attention to my real feelings and acknowledging it and possibly getting the help.
And now?
Now I think I'm doing way better. I got a therapist now. I know how to communicate way better, and I know my worth. I have awesome family members, and our relationships have definitely been better than they were over the years, which I just thank God for. So it's definitely getting better. Therapy definitely works.
Yeah. But listen, and I'm glad about that. But I'm going to push back a little bit, okay? Because if I got the story, but let me ask you this before I go there. Uh, what's the level of your self esteem from 1 to 10? 1 to 10 right now. What's your level of self esteem consistently in your adult life? What's been the level of your self esteem? 1 being terrible, 10 being amazing.
I'd say like a 7,
Really? Yeah.
6.5.
Yeah. Hold on. Really? Tell the truth. Come on. Shame the
I
devil.
really think it's like a 6.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can I be honest with you?
Yes.
I don't believe that.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, no, I don't believe that. I don't. I believe you because I believe that is what you assess. But I know for sure that someone with your journey and your story, of whom I have heard you find it difficult, and talk about this. You find it difficult to even read the comments, right,
Yeah.
on social media, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that. Come on, this is
Yeah,
me.
I mean,
Tasha, look, this is me and you. We
you know
good.
what it's like. You know what it's like. Like people just always have something to say. And, I did a lot of different segments last year. So I was getting a lot of engagement with new people. And oh my gosh, they hated me for the most part. And I'm like, I'm still new. How do you guys like not like any of this? Are people thinking that I'm, intimate with some of the people I'm working with? So it's just been a headache. And I'm like, I didn't even really get started yet. So it's a struggle out here. And I try not to spend too much time in the comments, but you want to know what people think because that's a part of like being a brand, being an influencer, or whatever you want to call it. But that part, they don't really tell you about that part when you're first starting off. Like, oh, people may hate this and they may tell you about it. And they may tell you on every single video that they don't like this. So, yeah.
Hmm.
I still say I'm a 6.5 though.
Yeah, I know you do, and I still say I don't believe you. I think you're amazing. But here's why. You recently, I think we got this right. You recently went into the music business. Did we get that right?
Yes.
Okay. Talk to me about how did that turn out?
Not the greatest. I started off as a music producer, then my manager convinced me to start writing, which eventually turned into me rapping. And so I really started taking it serious because, female rap was really hot at the time. So I'm like, oh, snap, like this is my way in. Like I just dropped out of college. Let's go. Like let's do this. And I recorded a song, played it for some executives, and they hated it. They were like, you sound like a suburban soccer mom. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. I'm from the suburbs. I can only be true to myself. But I didn't rap after that. Like I had a whole project ready and I didn't even drop it because I was just like, no, they said this isn't going to work. So I don't think we should do it, even though I had so much fun doing it. And it could have just been another phase of my life, phase of my career. But, I was very discouraged. And then
Okay. Now, I asked you that on purpose so I can make this statement. Someone with a 7 self-esteem or even a 6.5 self-esteem would have probably dropped that album anyway. Yeah.
Right.
And you see, and because and I'm not because listen, I like you. I think you have a great energy and spirit to you. But I'm also keenly aware that like you've had a journey where you've had to deal with criticism from people close to you, people around you in college, and even now as you step out into the listen. I look, I'm a talk show host, okay? I'm on TV, right? I'm on digital, I'm on broadcast, and I get criticism all the time. Okay, I get criticism from people who like me, people who hate me. It comes all. But I've had a different journey with criticism. Like my journey with criticism began outside of my house, right? It wasn't really in the house, and it wasn't early on in my life. So I had a chance to build up my reserves. You know what I'm saying? You haven't had that, and so I know internally it strikes you a little differently. So here's my question. You know what? I'm going to hold the question. Let's take this break. We're going to take this break. I'm going to give you the question before we go.
Okay.
What I want to know is this. What do you really fear when you hear criticism, when people really like level it at you? What do you really feel would be the result or the consequence of it, okay? Because I think that's where we need to go next. All right, everybody, we're going to take this break. When we come back, I'm going to ask that question, get our answer, okay? Because I think there's a little more here, and I think we can do something about it. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. I'm talking to my sister, Tasha. Tasha, so before we took the break, I asked you to really think about what is it that you fear the most as it relates to the criticism and some of the negativity that comes your way. What's your answer to that?
I'd say I fear failure. Like I don't want everybody that ever told me I couldn't do something or I couldn't be something to be right. I don't want that because then that means I've put in all this work for nothing. And I just don't want to fail.
Yeah.
I can't fail.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to push back on that. I'll tell you why. Because failure is a part of success. It's a part of greatness. And I think it goes back to you hearing early on that you had to be perfect, right? That you had to be presentable, that you had to be perfect, that you had to be pleasing early on in your life. And I think that that has not served you, because I think that it's okay for you to fail. I think it's okay for you to fall on your face. I think it's okay for you to make a complete, total fool of yourself. And let me tell you why. Because sometimes greatness is the willingness to look like a fool. If you're not willing to look like a fool, you're not going to tap into great. Everybody I know personally who's ever been great at anything, they had that willingness to fall on their face. And I'm saying to you, in this season of your life, if I could do anything for you, I would reach into your heart and I would pull out all that fear that makes you afraid to fail and replace it with the courage to feel the fear and do it anyway. The courage to say, you know what, if it messes up, it's okay, because I'm going to be okay, and you're going to be okay. Here's the second thing I would give you. You ready for this? Because I'm on a roll now. I'm on a roll now, Tasha. Here's the second thing I would give you is I would give you permission not to be presentable. I think you need a circle of people in your life with whom, and I'm not saying you don't have it, by the way, because if you do have it, I affirm it. If you don't have it, I pray for it. Just a group of folks that you don't have to be presentable. You don't have to be perfect. Your hair don't have to be done. Your makeup ain't got to be right. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't have to be flawless. Where you can just come as you are. You can come just looking like, you know what I'm saying? Feeling whatever you feel, looking however you feel, saying whatever's in your heart. Because it's more important for your success that you get to know yourself authentically and not dressed up. You know what I'm saying? Because, man, I'm telling you to your face that it's a great feeling to arrive at success and to know I get to enjoy this fully as me, and I don't have to perform in front of people, you know what I'm saying, in order to have it or to maintain it. When I say that to you, how does that strike your spirit?
It makes me want to cry. I'm a crybaby, and I don't even have my tissues near me, but yeah, that sounds like freeing, and it sounds great, but I don't even know where to start with that. But that's why I'm here, to figure out how to start with that, you know?
Yeah. Well, listen, you are starting now. This conversation is the beginning of it, because I think that you have been in bondage to perfection. You're in bondage to perfection. You're in bondage to perfection. And somebody needs to tell you, you don't have to be perfect in order to be loved. You don't have to be perfect in order to be successful. You don't have to be perfect in order for people to think that you're wonderful. You can have flaws. You can not be okay. And there are people in this world who will honor you and treasure you just the way that you are. Yes, something's going. Tell me what's going on in you right now.
I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just feeling things. I'm not really sure how to identify them. I'm just like, okay, I hear what you're saying and I'm taking it in. It's just like, I don't know. I don't know how to do that. I don't know if that makes sense.
Listen, I get it. I get it. It is a journey. It is not a moment, right? It's a journey. What we're having right now is a moment, but you are actually on a journey, and I'm hoping that this moment will add to your ability to arrive at that conclusion, because I want you to. If I could pray anything for you, I want you to be free. Like, I want you to be free, not just great. I want you to be great, by the way. You know what I'm saying? But I want you to be free. Like, I mean, just so free you make yourself sick. I mean, that's how free I want you to be. I mean, so free that you get on your own nerves. Where you just don't feel like you have to do anything to impress anybody or to make anybody say nice things. Where you are strong enough and you can wither the critiques and all of that to say, you know what, you get to have your opinion and I get to have my experience about myself. Like, that's what I want for you. Because to be honest with you, that's what I want for me. Like, everything that I'm saying to you is what I want for me. My consistent prayer for me, Tasha, all right? You ready for me to be transparent? My consistent prayer for me is, God, make me free. Like, if you don't give me $1 million, then at least let me be free. I want to be absolutely untethered to the opinions of the world around me, so that I could spread my wings or do whatever it is I want to do and not worry about what anybody thinks about it. Let me ask you one more quick question. What do you know about the difference between advice and criticism? What's the difference?
Advice is when they're suggesting something, and criticism is when they're nitpicking at something.
No,
I don't know.
no, that's
my definitions.
no, that's good. That was actually really good. I'm going to add to it, okay? So
Okay.
when someone gives you advice, they are critiquing you, but they're critiquing you with the intention for you to look good, sound good, be better, right? So when somebody
Yeah.
gives you advice, they're trying to provide correction so that you can shine, fly, and win. When someone is just criticizing you, their intention is to bring you down to size. Their intention is to reduce you. Their intention is to highlight what's wrong, the flaw, the error, the mistake. Okay? And what I'm hoping is that you will discover the difference between when someone is criticizing you and when someone's giving you advice. Okay? What I've done tonight is I haven't criticized you at all. What I've tried to do tonight is give you advice because I believe that you're going to be okay and you're going to win and you're going to be absolutely everything you always wanted to be. I want you to show up when you get there. I don't want the version of you that they approve of to be the one that accepts the award. I want the version of you that you have fallen in love with and who you really are to be the one that accepts the award. But here's one thing I know. You're going to get the award. You're going to win. I just want you to be the one who can feel the victory for yourself. You feel what I'm saying to you?
Yes, and I appreciate that so much.
No, listen, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. All right? You're going to be all right. But I'm going to ask you this question again. Let's see if you give me a different answer. All right? Your self-esteem on a level of 1 to 10 is most consistently what?
I'd say it's like a 4. 3.
There you go. Listen, that right there is the beginning of your greatness. The ability to acknowledge that, to accept that, and to know that is how you change that. All right? Listen, I got to let you go. When we come back, I'm going to have a few closing thoughts, and then we're going to do some Ask Dr. Sean. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. So you saw the conversation, right? You were a part of it. It's so interesting because I think a lot of times we want to be something that we're not yet. And I think that Tasha is, in the end, I think she's going to be fine. But I think the important step for her tonight was to be honest about where she was in terms of her self-esteem. I think there's some growing that my dear sister has to do, and she's going to do it as soon as she gives herself permission not to be perfect and not to be what everybody would call whatever it is wonderful. And no, I think we owe it to ourselves to stumble into the experience of simply being ourselves, whatever we happen to be in the moment. Because whatever you are in the moment, as long as you are authentically that's cool. Because the tax we pay for living is authenticity, not the airs that we put on, not the performance by which the world applauds. Do you know that you can be so addicted to people applauding for you that you end up living in that space between people's hands? That you're so desperate for the applause, you will eat in that space and live in that space and love in that space. And if you're not careful, you will die in the space between somebody's hands, waiting for them to clap. Freedom is the day you realize that you don't need applause. You just need room to breathe. Lord have mercy. Let's do some Ask Dr. Sean. Play the bumper, Hailey. So let's take a look at a video. You guys always send me great videos, and I appreciate you when you do. Thank you for the time that you take to make these videos. Let's watch one right now.
Hello, Dr. Sean. My name is Paige Mitchell, and I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The reason why I am reaching out today to seek your advice and wisdom is because I would really like to know, how do you persuade your family and close friends when it pertains to wanting to adopt or foster a child in comparison to biologically having a child of your own? So I really would like to know what you think about it and if you can help me.
Oh, great question. Thank you for that. I love this question. I'll tell you why. Here's my first answer. You don't have to persuade anybody. It's your decision. If you want to adopt a child in lieu of having a child biologically, you get to make that call. And as long as you're clear about what you want to do in your heart, everybody else in your life that loves you will adjust. I know this story from the inside. I know this question and the answer from the inside, not from the outside. So all of you know that I was adopted. My mother also adopted my sister, and she also adopted my younger brother, Curtis. You've not heard me talk about Curtis, maybe one other time. But when my mother adopted Curtis, Curtis had AIDS. He had AIDS. He had gotten it from his mother, who was a drug addict, and she took this baby into our home who had AIDS. My mom's sister, all her nieces and nephews, everybody told her, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. This is in the 80s, by the way. My mother did it anyway because she had a heart for this child, and she did not want this child to die without having the love of a mother. He eventually did pass away from the disease, but she made her decision based upon her principles, what she believed, and how she wanted to extend her love. And she didn't care about what her sister thought. She didn't care about what her brother thought or anybody else. Because once you're clear about what life is telling you to do, and once you're clear about what your Creator is putting a mandate on your life to become, and once you're clear about the fact that if you love a child, then you love a child, and it doesn't matter if the child came out of your womb or is simply in your life. The goal is to love a child. Once you're clear about that, you won't feel a need to convince anybody of anything. Let me tell you how great my mother was. I was adopted early on in my life. Spent my formative year, from the time I left the garbage can to the hospital, I was in her home. Do you know that not one time in my life did my mother ever make me feel that I was adopted? In fact, she never explained how I was her child to anybody. She never said, this is my adopted son. She never said, this is Sean who I adopted. She never introduced me like that. I never heard her use the word adoption until she told me the story of my life. See, when you have that kind of love and that kind of commitment and that kind of courage, you won't care about what nobody thinks. I pray that you get there. And if you're supposed to do it, that on behalf of all the children who need to be loved and needed to be adopted, I pray that we find our way to you. Ooh, that's good. All right, let's do someone DM me this one. Recently, I discovered that my 17-year-old daughter is selling nude photos of herself on the internet. My husband wants to kick her out of our home. I don't, but I do believe she needs to be punished. Would kicking her out of our home be too harsh, or would it teach her a lesson? Real quick, let me say this very clearly. I think kicking your daughter out of your home because she's selling nude photos of herself on the internet at age 17 is a surefire way to ensure that she ends up in greater levels of trouble, that she ends up being caught up in sex trafficking and sex work inevitably. See, I have a principle, and I practice it with my sons, and I invited you to practice it with your daughter. When my sons would mess up and do something that I didn't like, I didn't push them away. I brought them closer. You see, this is the time when your daughter needs to be very close to you. Kicking somebody out of the house isn't going to fix the problem. Kicking somebody out of the house at 17, by the way, and by the way, she's still a minor in most states, okay? Kicking somebody out of the house at 17 for doing something that is clearly not right and clearly out of bounds, right? And clearly illegal, by the way, because she's a minor, that's not going to fix it. There's something else going on in her and with her that you need to discover, and you can only do that up close. This is not a situation that you can heal from far away. Remember when you had your daughter and you said you would love her and you said that you loved her and you said she was important to you and you said no matter what, you were going to be there for her, and you promised that little baby in that little crib that you was going to be her mama and that you was going to be there for her no matter what? Remember all of that? Well, now you got to live it out. Now you got to live it out. And this is the time where you pull your daughter closer. This is the time where you and her father have long, serious conversations with her soul and her spirit. Because if you separate yourself from her, you're going to lose her. And we can't afford to lose any more girls. Yeah. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with more Ask Dr. Sean after this. Welcome back, everybody. So we're going to do some more Ask Dr. Sean because I enjoy this part of the show. I enjoy all of the show, but I really enjoy this part of it. So someone sent me a video. I think Derek sent me a video. Let's take a look at what his question is.
Hey, Dr. Sean. My name is Derek. I need some advice. I've been dating someone for a few months now, and their cooking isn't just bad, it's horrible. What do you recommend I do?
Thank you, Derek. I recommend that you learn how to cook. You know, listen, it takes two to make it work. I mean, unless you're one of those guys who thinks that, a guy ain't supposed to cook or something like that. And that's like draconian, antediluvian. You like how I did that, right? I'm just saying, here's what you should do. Learn how to cook or learn how to cook together. You know what I'm saying? I think one of the exciting things that people do nowadays is they take cooking classes together. I would be honest. Look, I always, my default setting is honesty. So if I'm living with you, dating you or whatever, and I don't like your cooking, I'm just gonna be like, your cooking is awful. Okay? Now your hugs are amazing, your kisses are divine, your eyes are angelic, but your cooking is horrible. Okay? we have to do something about this. And we gonna do it together. All right, we're gonna learn how to cook together. I wouldn't make it like a point of contention. I wouldn't make it something that, some sort of, I would make it an opportunity for us to do something together, something to sort of, have a good time about, laugh about. And you'll learn a lot about your relationship, because if you guys can't laugh at yourselves, then you're gonna have trouble probably later on. But yeah, in the meantime, either learn how to cook, or I don't cook very well. It's just me. And so I don't cook, but I can order. Give me a phone and watch what happens. You hear me? I can order. There's nobody in the state of California can order better than me. I will have a meal delivered that'll just make your big toe shoot up in your boot. So until you learn how to cook, y'all might want to learn how to order. Okay? But be honest. And then use it as an opportunity for the two of you to pull closer together. Don't let something so small ruin something so big. That's good advice. All right. Here's a question someone emailed me. My girl of 10 years broke up with me. I raised her two young sons like they were mine, own children, and I am the only father figure they know. She refuses to allow me to see them because she said she needs to move on with her life. Is it also time for me to move on with my life? Well, yeah, obviously. Yeah, if the relationship is over, it is time for you to move on with your life. But that doesn't mean that you can't be still concerned about and still, on some level, connected to her children. You see, you can't see her children without her permission, obviously, because they're her children. But you can be patient, and you can perhaps do little things that let them know that you still care about them and that you still are available to them. Because there will come a day when they won't be young, and they won't be so young that they need her permission to connect with you. And they will need to know that you didn't walk away, that you still wanted to, be concerned about them. But at the same time, you also need to give yourself an opportunity for you to flourish in other areas. You see, I don't think this is an either-or situation. Yes, you should move on with your life and find someone who wants to be with you. Absolutely. Because you shouldn't waste your time on people who don't. But you don't have to abandon these kids or make these kids feel abandoned because of whatever their mom happens to be going through with you. Now, I don't know how you do it. It's not going to be easy. And it may not happen for a while because, again, you may have to wait until these kids get a little older and can make certain decisions for themselves. And you may need to see if your capacity to be connected to them survives long enough for them to get older and to decide that they want to be connected to you in that way. But here's what I know for sure. I know that the love that we give to people when we give it to them is important. I know that when we are in someone's life, whether it is for a week or for a year or for 10 years or for 2 decades, if you're giving somebody love and giving them the best of who you are, it matters. That what you gave these kids affected them, it empowered them, it changed them, it transformed them into something better. And if you never see these kids again, if you're never connected to them in the same way, what you need to take joy in is that while they were in your life and in your space, you were good to them and you did right by them. And instead of just being caught up in the anxiety of the future, maybe you should just chill for a moment and give yourself a pat on the back and realize that you did a good thing. Because I'm going to tell you something to your face. It takes a hell of a man to raise another man's child. It takes a hell of a man to be invested in the life of another man's children. And you were willing to do that. And whether this works out or not, you need to know that you have it within you to give that kind of love and to be that unconditional. And whoever gets to have you next will be blessed. And whether you have your own children or whether you come into another situation similar to this one, you've already proven your capacity and your ability to be faithful to the only thing that matters. And what's the only thing that matters? That you leave people better than how you find them. Lord have mercy. That is the only thing that matters. That is the raison d'etre of every relationship. Have I left you better than how I found you? Whew. Anyway, thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm so glad we had this chance to be together. Thank you, Tasha, for being here. I wish her well, but I wish her freedom and authenticity. And I wish it for you, all right? You guys go forward in the strength that remains and be amazing until I see you again. And I will see you sooner than you think, all right? Y'all be good to each other because I love you.